There's this photo in our hallway, framed in silver, slightly tilted on the nail, of my girlfriend Emily and her twin sister Sarah. They must have been around 7, arms wrapped around each other, all freckles and missing teeth, both grinning like they hadn't yet learned what real pain felt like. I always thought it was eerie, though, not because of the photo itself, but because Sarah had died when they were 23. A hiking accident, Emily told me, slipped off a trail upstate, cracked her skull open on a rock below. Open casket funeral. Closed eyes. Cold lips. All confirmed. So imagine how I felt when I opened our apartment door last Tuesday night and saw her. Sarah. Standing there barefoot, hair matted with rain, shivering, staring at me like she'd been searching for this door forever. And if you think that's bad, you won't believe what happened next. Emily was in the shower. I had just come back from a late grocery run. Soup, toilet paper, a bottle of cheap wine, and was juggling the bags when I heard the knock. Not a light tap either. 3 hard, slow bangs. I opened the door expecting a neighbor. Instead, it was her. Same face, same eyes, same small scar above the left brow. I froze. "Can I come in?" she asked. Her voice was hoarse, like she hadn't used it in days. I don't know where else to go. I didn't move, didn't breathe. My mind went straight to old photos on Emily's Facebook, funeral programs tucked away in drawers, even that weird story Emily once told me about her parents not letting her see the body alone. "Who are you?" I finally whispered. She flinched like I'd slapped her. "I'm Sarah," she said. "Emily's sister, her twin. I know I'm supposed to be dead, but I'm not. Please, please, I need your help." My heart pounded. This had to be a prank. A cruel, elaborate joke. Except there was something about her beyond the resemblance that made it impossible to dismiss. Her eyes darted around, like she was afraid someone might be watching. She had no shoes, just a hospital bracelet half torn around her wrist. Her lips were cracked. There were bruises on her arms. "What the hell is this?" I said, stepping back. You died. I've seen. I know what Emily told you," she cut in, eyes filling with tears. "But she lied. My parents lied. They all lied. And if you let her find me, she'll make me disappear again." That's when Emily stepped into the hallway, toweling off her hair. She froze at the sight of the doorway, and when she saw who was standing there, the towel dropped. I've never seen that kind of look on someone's face before. Not shock, not grief, not joy, just dread. "Close the door," Emily said to me. Quiet, cold, almost robotic. I didn't move. Sarah took a step forward. "I just want to talk," she pleaded. "Close the door." Emily's voice dropped a pitch sharper now. Sarah reached into her coat pocket and pulled out something wrapped in tissue. A photo. She handed it to me, her hand trembling. I unfolded it. It was the same photo from our hallway, but the version she gave me was different. In this one, their smiles were off, forced, and Sarah's arm had deep purple bruises I'd never noticed before. "Ask her why she changed the story," Sarah said. "Ask her what really happened the night I fell." Behind me, Emily let out a low whisper. "Don't listen to her." And that's when I saw it, on Sarah's neck, just beneath her collarbone. A long, fresh scar. Stitched, still healing. It was shaped like a question mark. I didn't close the door. I should have. Maybe things would have turned out different. Maybe I wouldn't be here, shaking in the dark, typing this with a bruised eye and blood on my shirt. But I didn't. I stepped aside. Sarah walked in, quiet as a shadow, dripping onto the hallway rug. She stood in the middle of the room, scanning everything. Our framed vacation pictures, the mess of mail on the table, the half-eaten soup on the stove, as if she was trying to remember a life she'd never gotten to live. Emily didn't move from the hallway. She stayed where she was, like her bare feet were cemented to the floor. Her eyes followed Sarah the way a mouse watches a snake. Terrified, but unwilling to blink. "I'm not here to hurt you," Sarah said. "But I can't run anymore." Emily finally broke the silence. "You should be dead." Sarah's voice cracked. "Yeah, I know." We sat in the living room in silence. the tension so thick it choked the air. I poured Sarah a glass of water, which she downed like she hadn't had a sip in days. Emily sat across from her, arms folded tightly, one leg bouncing rapidly. I could feel her panic vibrating through the floorboards. "You want to explain this?" I asked. Neither of them answered at first. So I turned to Sarah. "Start from the beginning." She nodded slowly, eyes unfocused, like she was watching it all replay in her head. Then she said it. "I was never supposed to die." She told us the story like a confession. It started 5 years ago with a weekend hiking trip. Just the two of them, Emily and Sarah. The trail they picked wasn't even that dangerous, just isolated. Sarah said they used to hike all the time together growing up, and they hadn't done anything like that since college. Emily had insisted they go, said it'd be good for them. But something had changed on that trip. She was off, Sarah said, her voice barely above a whisper, quiet, distant, like she was going through the motions. They were a few hours into the hike when Emily led them off the main trail. Said she found a shortcut on a forum. It wasn't on any maps. Sarah followed without thinking. That's the part that haunts her. She stopped by this ridge, Sarah said, and she just stared out over the valley. Then she turned to me and said, "You always ruin everything. You know that?" Sarah laughed bitterly. That's the last thing I remember before she shoved me. My stomach turned. I hit my head on the way down. I think I blacked out. When I woke up, it was night. I couldn't move my left leg, and there was blood in my eyes. I thought I was going to die there. But someone found her. Not a hiker. Not a ranger. A man, she said. Or something like one. She wouldn't describe him in detail. Every time I asked, she'd go quiet. Just said he didn't speak. But he brought her to a cabin deep in the woods. Nursed her back to health in silence. And when she could walk again, he let her go. But I couldn't come back, she said. Not right away. I didn't know who I was. I didn't remember anything clearly. I wandered for weeks. No ID. No phone. No memory. Emily stared at her like she was listening to a ghost. Then, a month ago, Sarah said, it all came back, in a dream, like a flood. I remembered the fall, the cabin, you, everything, and I knew I had to find you. Emily finally stood up. You're lying, she said, shaking. You're fucking lying. I wish I was, Sarah whispered. You think I'd try to kill my own sister? Sarah's voice didn't rise. I think you already did. Emily's face twisted. You don't know what it was like after. Mom wouldn't stop crying. Dad wouldn't leave the house. I was the one who had to keep them together. I was the one who... You told them I slipped. Emily's lip quivered. You did slip. I didn't. I saw you lose your footing. I didn't. I stood up then. Emily, why didn't you go get help? Emily looked at me like I'd stabbed her. What? I repeated it. Why didn't you get help? You said she fell. That you watched her die. Why didn't you climb down and check? Call for help? Her mouth opened. Nothing came out. You just left her? Emily's eyes glazed over. There was blood. On the rocks. I thought I panicked. I didn't know what to do. I ran. Sarah laughed softly. You didn't run. You waited. You walked back slow. You rehearsed what you'd say. No. Emily's voice cracked. I thought you were dead. The room was spinning now. My hands were cold. Sarah sat there calm as ice. Like she'd been waiting years to say all of this. Like she'd said it to herself 1,000 times before. I'm not here to ruin your life, Sarah said. I just want the truth. Emily turned to me then, eyes wide, trembling. You believe her? I didn't answer. That night I couldn't sleep. Emily locked herself in the bedroom. Sarah slept on the couch. I lay awake, staring at the ceiling, trying to convince myself this wasn't unraveling my entire reality. At around 2 a.m., I got up for water. Sarah was still awake, sitting cross-legged, flipping through an old photo album I hadn't seen in years. She looked up when I walked in. Did you love her? she asked quietly. I hesitated. I do. She nodded. She used to be different, you know, softer, before college. What happened? Sarah smiled sadly. I don't know. I think part of her always hated me. Twins are supposed to be close, but we weren't. Not really. We looked alike, but she always felt second. I was the one who got scholarships. I made friends easier. Teachers liked me more. That doesn't mean she'd. No, Sarah said. But it made her bitter. And when I got the internship in Chicago, the one she wanted, she trailed off. I sat down across from her. Why now? I asked. Why come back? She reached into her coat pocket and pulled out a second photo. It was recent. A snapshot of Emily, smiling with some coworkers at a bar. Someone had circled her face in red. This was left on my doorstep 2 nights ago. I stared at it. By who? I don't know, but it had a note with it. She handed me a scrap of paper, written in tight, blocky letters. She isn't who you think she is, and she's not finished. The next morning, Emily was gone. No note, no text, just gone. Her phone still sat on the nightstand, buzzing with missed calls from her boss. Her keys were missing, but nothing else. She left the apartment without shoes. I found her towel crumpled in the bathroom sink, still damp, and next to it, on the white tile, was a small streak of red, like someone had pressed their finger into a fresh wound and then leaned on the counter. She ran, I told Sarah. Sarah was still in the living room, staring out the window like she was expecting to see Emily walking back up the street any second. No, she said. She didn't run. You think something happened to her? I think, Sarah said. She went to finish what she started. I called the police. I told them my girlfriend was missing. I left out the part about her presumed dead twin returning from the grave and accusing her of attempted murder. I said Emily had been acting strange lately, that she might be in danger, that she'd left without her phone. They said to give it 24 hours. By nightfall, she still hadn't come home. That's when Sarah pulled the second photo back out, the one of Emily at the bar, circled in red, and asked if I recognized the background. Took me a minute, but then I saw it. A rust-colored tin sign behind the bar with a pair of antlers nailed to it. A dive spot just outside of town. One we'd only been to once. How did this end up on your doorstep? I asked. Sarah didn't answer right away. There's something else you should know, she said. I wasn't the first to fall. Back in high school, the twins had a friend named Kelsey. The 3 of them were inseparable, until the summer before senior year when Kelsey vanished during a group camping trip. The story Emily told was that Kelsey got lost during a midnight hike. Her body was never found. It wasn't me who pushed her, Sarah said. But I remember how Emily told the story, how smooth she was, how sad she looked. She even cried at the memorial. But she never once mentioned that she and Kelsey had fought that night. That Kelsey found out Emily had been forging her homework, copying her applications. She was jealous even back then. I didn't know what to say. Sarah leaned forward, voice lowering. When someone survives something like I did, something that should have killed them, they change. You stop trusting coincidences. You start seeing patterns. You think Emily killed Kelsey? Sarah just looked at me. That was answer enough. She's not like other people, she said. She learns to mimic what love looks like, what grief looks like, but she doesn't feel it the same way. It made me nauseous to think about, to retrace every moment of vulnerability Emily had ever shown me, to wonder how much of it was real. She's good at becoming whoever she needs to be, Sarah said. And you were just another mask. We went to the bar that night, the one in the photo. It was mostly empty, just a few old guys hunched over beers, some teenagers playing pool. The bartender recognized Emily immediately, said she'd been in a few times over the past couple of weeks, said she always sat in the back booth, alone, and scribbled things in a little red notebook. "She leave anything behind?" I asked. He nodded, reached under the bar, and handed me the notebook. It was wrapped in a rubber band, the cover frayed, water damaged. "She came in last night," he added. "Looked like hell. Stayed for maybe 10 minutes. Then she bolted." I opened the notebook. The first few pages were just sketches. Faces. Over and over again. All the same face, slightly different expressions. It was Sarah's. Then came words. Frantic, messy, uneven. "They think I'm a monster." It was supposed to be her. "He said I'd feel better if I gave him what he wanted." I saw her face in the water. It wasn't mine. "You don't bury what you didn't kill." My hands trembled as I flipped further. Dozens of pages. Drawings of Sarah with her eyes missing. Of a hand reaching out of the ground. Of a shadowed man with antlers. "She's unraveling," I whispered. "No," Sarah said behind me. "She's planning." We went home that night and locked every door. I couldn't stop thinking about the name in the notebook. He said I'd feel better if I gave him what he wanted. I asked Sarah if she knew who he was. She didn't answer. But that night, I woke up to find her not on the couch, but standing at the kitchen window, staring out into the alley. When I asked what she was doing, she said, "He's close." "Who is?" But she wouldn't say. The next morning, the front door was open, just slightly, like someone had come in or gone out and hadn't quite latched it. Sarah was gone. Her coat was still on the chair, her shoes still by the mat. But the photo she'd shown me, the one with the circled face, was gone from my desk. I called her name. Nothing. There was something else on the floor by the doorway. A small glass bead, pale blue, cold to the touch. I realized it was an eye, a fake one, like the kind you'd see in a doll. I ran to the window. There, across the street, standing by the telephone pole, was Emily. She was barefoot, her clothes stained, her hair hanging limp, and in her hand was the red notebook. She didn't look at me. She was staring at something beside her. At first I thought it was a pile of garbage bags. But then it moved. Something hunched, limber, too tall, wrapped in a coat far too thin for the weather. Its face was hidden behind what looked like a deer skull. Its hands were long, skeletal. At its feet, a trail of fresh footprints in the dirt. Child-sized. I blinked. They were gone. I didn't go outside. Not right away. I waited. For hours. Called Sarah's name again and again. But the house stayed silent. I found her phone on the windowsill. The last photo in the gallery was of our front door. And behind it, a shadow. Not hers. Emily's. That was yesterday. Tonight, I got a text from an unknown number. Just one photo. Of Emily, standing at the edge of a lake. And behind her, emerging from the black water, was a figure with antlers and no face. I didn't sleep. Couldn't. That photo, the one from the unknown number, burned itself into my eyes. Emily at the lake's edge, her back to the camera. And behind her, something pulling itself out of the black water. Its body like a bundle of sticks twisted into a human shape. Its head wrong. Wide and long, antlers rising like skeletal fingers clawing at the sky. No face. Just blank, white bone. I tried tracing the number. Burner phone. Unregistered. Whoever sent it wanted me to see something. But not everything. The lake was 3 hours north. I only knew that because I remembered the shape of the shoreline. A strange, curved inlet with a flat boulder perched at the edge like a diving board. Emily had taken me there once. Said it was a family secret. Somewhere she used to go when she needed to think. Back when things were good. Before the shadows started growing behind her eyes. I should have gone to the police. I should have called someone. Instead, I packed a flashlight, the red notebook, and a hunting knife I'd never used before. And I drove. The forest surrounding the lake was thicker than I remembered. The trail had mostly vanished, overgrown by weeds and fallen limbs. I parked off a dirt road and hiked in, every branch cracking like a gunshot, every gust of wind sounding too much like a voice I couldn't make out. By the time I reached the lake, the sun was gone. Clouds rolled in thick and low. And there, silhouetted against the water, was Emily. She was kneeling on the rock, and in her lap was the red notebook, pages fluttering in the breeze. I stepped closer, quietly. Her voice was low, but it carried. "I tried to do it the right way," she said. She didn't look at me. "They told me it wouldn't work unless I gave something real, something that meant something." She turned slightly, and I saw her eyes were bloodshot, her hands raw, her nails torn. I thought Sarah would be enough. She was always enough. More than me, better than me. But it didn't work. It just made things worse. "Emily," I whispered, "what are you doing?" She finally turned to look at me. There was something hollow behind her eyes, a vacancy, like the light had moved out and locked the door behind it. "They told me I needed to bring her here," she said. "Back to where it started." "You mean the lake?" She nodded. "They said this place remembers, keeps things." I took a step closer. "Who told you that?" She tilted her head. Then, behind her, I saw it. The figure, the antlers, standing just beyond the water, its legs submerged, its arms swaying gently like weeds in the current. His face was still blank, still bone, but its chest was pulsing, like it was breathing. Emily didn't flinch. "They promised they'd take the memory away, the guilt, the pain. They promised I could start over." My throat tightened. "And did they?" She smiled. But it wasn't Emily's smile. It was too wide, too forced, too broken. "No," she said. "They just gave me new pain." Suddenly, something splashed behind me. I turned. Sarah was there, soaked, barefoot, cuts on her arms. Her eyes locked on Emily. "You brought him back," she whispered. Emily stood. "I never let him go." They stared at each other like mirrors that hated what they saw. "Don't you understand?" Emily hissed. "He needs balance. One to leave, one to stay." Sarah took a step forward. "You killed Kelsey." Emily didn't answer. "You tried to kill me." Still no answer. "And now you're trying to feed him." Emily smiled again. "He's always hungry." The thing in the water began to move, slowly, toward us. Sarah grabbed my arm. "We need to leave." I looked at Emily one last time. She wasn't crying. She wasn't begging. She looked relieved. "I made my choice," she said. "Now you make yours." Then she stepped backward, into the water, and the thing opened its arms. The scream that came next didn't sound human. I didn't see what happened beneath the surface. Just a ripple, then a silence, then nothing. Sarah and I ran. Branches whipped our faces. Mud sucked at our feet. But we didn't stop until the car was in sight. When we got in, I locked the doors without thinking. Sarah stared out the window, her face pale. "He'll come again," she said softly. "He always comes back." "Who is he?" I asked. She looked at me, her eyes full of something deeper than fear, something like grief. "I don't know his name, but Emily," she called him Hollow. We didn't speak on the drive back. Not for miles. Sarah stared out the passenger window with her hands in her lap, nails bitten to the quick. I caught her mouthing something under her breath, over and over. Prayer, maybe, or a warning. It didn't matter. I couldn't stop seeing it. Emily stepping back, the water accepting her, the antlered thing rising without a sound. That thing she called Hollow, and something worse still, the feeling that it hadn't taken her against her will, that she'd offered herself, that she'd belonged to it all along. Sarah stayed with me for a few days after that. She didn't want to be alone. I didn't either. We told the police that Emily went missing while hiking again. No one pushed too hard. After all, she had a history of mental health issues now, didn't she? Who would question it? But we both knew that the lake wouldn't give her back. Not because she was dead, because she was part of it now. On the third night, the power went out. No storm, no warning, just everything flickering and then dying, TV, fridge, lights, the hum of the street lamps outside. The darkness was sudden, suffocating. We lit candles, but the shadows moved wrong. I noticed it first in the hallway mirror. The reflection was delayed by a second or two, just enough to feel like a trick of the light. But then I saw it again in the bathroom. My hand would move, and my reflection would follow late, like it was thinking about it first. Sarah stood in the doorway behind me. "He's testing us," she said. I turned. "What?" She looked down at her arm. Her sleeve was rolled up. The skin there was mottled, like something had bruised her from the inside. "Ever since the lake," she whispered. "He's been close. I can feel it." I didn't ask how. I already knew what she meant. I felt it too. Like the walls weren't quite real anymore. Like the floor had a pulse. Like we weren't the only things breathing in the room. That night I dreamt I was back at the lake. But this time it wasn't Emily on the rock. It was me. And Hollow was behind me, arms outstretched. When I woke up, there was dirt in my mouth. I begged Sarah to leave the city with me, to go somewhere far, somewhere quiet. She agreed. We packed what we could and left before sunrise, driving until the signal bars disappeared from our phones. A small motel in Montana. 2 rooms. Sparse. Safe. But that first night, I heard scratching at the window. Not like nails. Like antlers. I didn't open the curtain. Sarah's nightmares got worse. She would wake up gasping, clawing at her sheets. Sometimes she'd speak in her sleep. Sometimes she'd hum. But always the same tune. Low. Crooked. Like something half-remembered from a childhood cartoon, warped through static. One morning I found her in the motel shower, fully clothed, shivering under the cold water. Her eyes were wide. "He's inside," she whispered. "He's inside me." I tried to pull her out, but she screamed. Not words, just pure sound. Raw terror. After that, I kept the red notebook by my bed. Not to read, just to know where it was. Like keeping an old grenade around in case the war ever came back. Then came the final night. I woke to the smell of smoke. Sarah's room was open, empty. But on the bed, laying neatly where her head should have been, was the photo of her and Emily as kids. The one from our hallway. Except now, both faces were crossed out in black ink. And at the bottom, in letters I didn't recognize at first but understood perfectly, was one word. Hollowed. I ran outside. The woods behind the motel had gone quiet. So quiet I could hear my own heartbeat. I called her name. Nothing. I tried the trees, the road, the gas station down the highway. Nothing. And then, on my windshield, I saw it. Drawn in dust. A shape. Antlers. It's been 6 months. I've moved twice. Changed my name. Burned the notebook. But sometimes, late at night, I still see her. Sarah. Or something that used to be her. Standing at the edge of my dreams. Barefoot. Soaked. Her mouth stitched shut. And behind her, the antlered thing. Not chasing. Just watching. And now I understand. You don't get away. Not really. Once he sees you, once he marks you, you belong. Not to death. Not to darkness. To Hollow. And all you can do is wait for the day the knock comes at your door. Slow. Soft. Final. This story was completely true. Except for all the parts that weren't. Thanks for listening. That's how it happened or didn't. But if it did, don't think it couldn't happen to you. Subscribe to It Happened to Me. A new story drops daily.